I see him a bit like, indeed, yes, the model, necessarily, that's for sure. And it was a guy who listened to my parents a lot more. It served me because I was into him and he followed my parents' advice, so I also wanted to emulate him and do well. Not the bad, because I could have done some really bad things, and I didn't do them, because I would be ashamed if my brother ever found out. So there are things I could have done that I didn't do. You see, for example, today, it's been 5 years since he passed away, you see. I believe that when he died, he had attained a level of intelligence that I haven't reached yet, even being 3 years older now. I find this incredible because I recall his thoughts and way of thinking. In his final 2 years, he truly transformed into a different person. This means he became much more sociable and outgoing with me. We talked a lot more, growing even closer towards the end, sharing many things. It was charming. I liked the way he made me say things. Since he didn't talk much anyway, I had the impression that he didn't talk much intimately. I really have the impression that when he asked for this kind of things, he really had to unpack the thing. And so, yeah, I said a lot of stuff. He left with a lot of my secrets, him. Also, he told me some crazy secrets. I'm happy after, at his 20 years. So on July 14th, he decided to have a birthday party for his 20th. It was July 11th, his birthday. He decided to party on the 14th. And so he died in a car accident. He took my mother's brother's Golf GTI, and then he hit the road drunk, actually. And when his friends were there and they realized he had left, they decided to take a car and go get him. And it turns out that, in fact, it's their friend's car they hit, you see. Head-on collision and instant death. So Titu was in the car with my living brother. That night, I went to my aunt's house with my mother. Ironically, I went out the window at one point to see my friend next door. And like, we have done some scooter without a helmet all night, you see, and I came back calm, except what? On the other hand, I came back, I didn't sleep. What? Me, already, I was supposed to go to this party. I had 16 feet. And since I was a dud at high school and I didn't give a damn, my mother, she told me, no, you're not going to your brother's party at all. And so I ended up sleeping at home, what? And then at 6 o'clock, I heard the phone ring. I wasn't sleeping. I came back at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, like on the couch, pretending I didn't go out, what? And until 6 o'clock in the morning, I didn't sleep. Then the phone, it rang. I thought, damn, I thought, it's my brother there, there's a problem. It wasn't answering me because I was sending messages. Me, it's the buddy and all, it wasn't answering me. And I knew there was something wrong. And right away, my mother, she left. She left without saying a word. In that moment of denial, it wasn't possible for me. I wanted to see my brother because I couldn't believe it. I stayed at the crematorium every day, convinced he was going to breathe. I was absolutely certain. At one point, I freaked out when his lips moved next to me. It triggered me again, and I cried nonstop for a day. Like, seriously, they tricked me. Those were such weird moments. You know, I was really hopeful. I couldn't, and it's crazy because, you know, you see it, it's real. And you can't, your brain, it's wrecked, like only. It took me a long time to get out of this bubble that his death had put me in. My aunt told me, and she started crying. That's when I understood. She immediately said she had to tell Zoe, my brother's girlfriend. I couldn't do it, so I gave her the phone and she told her. I was furious for not being there when I should have been. However, I began to understand that my mother's punishment actually saved me. It's certain I would have gotten in the car if I hadn't stopped him. I might not have fastened my seatbelt either. I've never seen my mother so devastated. At that moment, I felt I think I was so detached, but strangely, it's true that it made me cry when I saw people who weren't necessarily close to my brother and were there just because he had died. It was dramatic, and as a result, it affected them, but I find it a shame that they weren't affected by my brother before, especially since most of them, they didn't even know, like I told you, this side where he had become someone else. Most people didn't know that about Corin too. Sometimes I cried people. They thought it was because I was happy to see them, and in fact, it was just because I was full of resentment. It made me incredibly angry. I felt like like you were enlightened in a really horrible moment of your life, you know. At one point, they put the lights on you because it gives you a light, sort of. Everyone comes to complain, yeah. Well, everyone comes, well, asks you how it's going. No, it's not too hard. At that moment, I thought my life was over. I said I was there for my sister and little brother, but in reality, I was just messing around and acting like a fool. I smoked like crazy. I was acting like a real fool. I was drinking every day and all. I do nothing. In high school, I don't care about anything. I had over 100 half-day absences, which was challenging. I acted foolishly and even started cheating on my girlfriends. Just harmful stuff. To me, running away is avoiding the problem, actually. I've always tried to avoid the problem and never face it head on. That's my specialty. I've always done that, and it's a bit of denial, maybe, if I had to put words on it. It's 200% mostly about letting go, actually. It's no control, zero. You seriously neglect yourself. I used to get up at 7 in the morning to go to high school. I would go to bed at 5. I'd leave and sleep in the car, not even talking to my mom. She was well aware that I hadn't slept all night, as I would come home wasted. I would fall asleep. It was obvious that I was wrecked when we were at the table. That was just annoying. The crematorium week, it's really weird. You see your dream already dead, but most of all, you see a young person who has passed away. It's a very strange feeling. I don't know if you've experienced it, but it's super weird. The cold and everything, it's super weird. It terrified me. It leaves scars. These are like screenshots of your life that leave blockages everywhere. When an image comes back to you, it blocks you. You constantly think about it, and it truly affected my boredom. Whenever boredom struck, I inevitably wanted to escape and get wasted. My boredom was the greatest enemy of my grief. I shouldn't get bored. My mother is the same. Just a week later, she went back to work. She couldn't stay idle and think about it. Her children think about it daily. If she stopped working, it would mean she's fixating on her son's death, not his life. Having someone in your memory doesn't mean that. She realized she couldn't fix things by stopping work and doing nothing, so she quickly returned. She quickly returned to work, which I found very admirable. And I never returned to work after that. The annoying period of drinking and smoking heroin 24/7 lasted 2 years. It was a blur, especially after his death. It really put me in a haze, where I never talked about my emotions except to my girl. I revealed everything to my girlfriend, the only person I can fight it in. There were times when I was drunk and cried my heart out, saying a lot. I don't remember. If you were discussing the aftermath, that's part of it. Your brain, sometimes it disconnects. I think it's the logical sequence. You know, when you lose control, there are things that your brain does that you don't master. At the end of these 2 years, it changed afterwards because I got my baccalaureate. Like I got my baccalaureate, you see. I had an average of 3.5 the last quarter before getting my baccalaureate without retakes, which is quite incredible. It's a success. It's a success that gave unimaginable hope. My mother always told me to do what I want after my baccalaureate. I just wanted to rap and help people. My writings have never been an exudate. I always wrote for myself, as I needed to talk about my brother after his passing. Even I did it a bit too much at certain times. But it was never to create a Band-Aid effect. It was never that. I always did it because I knew I had lived it, so. And that if I was going to tell it, it would be felt. And I like good music, you see, and I know that good music is often the one that is really felt by the artist, you see, and therefore the shot, it was the case, it made me happy. It made me happy. In fact, to make sound, I speak of my brother. Yeah, I really didn't do it in me of sadness when I wrote it, even when I interpret it, you see. I love to interpret it, I love to play the sounds, I speak of my brother live, I love too much. I had a kind of desire to explain how death was present in my life, like, listen, yeah, it's not normal, it's not cool, I need to talk about it, but without complaining, I was trying to sublimate the thing. I was always trying to have this touch of hope in sky. And Earth, the sound that I made, I find there is a mega note of hope. I strongly advise people to go listen to it. I really had the impression that death was lurking around, given that in addition, so there were quite a few family problems. So deaths too, you see, following after the one after my brother's that I had trouble feeling. And in fact, you see, while I loved the people to whom it happened. Yes, I was broken, you know, I couldn't pull the trigger. I don't know. In any case, it changed me. It really changed my relationship with death. I was afraid of death for a very long time. No, that death even takes people around me. I believe I've never been afraid of dying. It's super selfish, but it's the fear of being sad because of a death. It's really the fear of being sad. I'm mostly afraid of premature deaths, I think. Unplanned deaths are tragic. When something unplanned happens, it hurts no matter how you feel it. Subsequently, after my intake of Step Back, I realized that one should not lament, should not give up, that I already have a mother who has taken a good moral hit, and if I fail, it will be worse. I was thinking about, as I was telling you earlier, the example I should set, and I removed this idea that death was looming over me afterwards. I just accepted the fact that it's quite common in my family, because we are many, and that's how it is. Then everything happened in succession. I was 18, 19 years old, so it caught on. People joined the madness. Joy said what? One time I released a song called Chicha Pome, and right after I released a song called Sky and Earth, and that it's the ultimate depression, because there I was an artist who was doing contests on Instagram. I built my fan base like that. I took my most loyal subscribers here. And so it's after that I found myself a manager. Richie met Niger. It lifted my head. I said to myself, wow, dude, damn, you have people who are really interested in what I listen to. And so I believed in it. I believed in it and I moved forward. Our hard work has been rewarded. We've released 2 EPs and 2 albums. The latest album, Transparent, was released on October 21st. It's a beautiful album featuring a song called Lion, which is about my brother. In the chorus, I say my ideas are dark from the departure of the dead, and I'm the only one who sees them. I lost my way, wounded all over since the lion died. It's a strength because, despite it all, I continued to think for 2, even when writing. Because I was already doing it at the time too, as I tell you. I always wanted to show my brother that I was too hot. So you see, that's why I showed him my texts and everything. And so, yeah, I always did it as if he could read it. I really had to get out of that though. Because I really had a writing style that was made to please a guy like my ref. So in retrospect, I realized that I'm lucky and I wouldn't give up my place for anything in the world. I'm really doing it for myself and I'm happy to be surrounded by my parents. I'm so happy that they're proud of me too. I'm glad they see that I'm smiling, that I'm fulfilled. And that's worth all the gold in the world. I realized how lucky I was to be alive and to be able to do what I want on top of that.